What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 790 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the city of Vineland. It's your boy KP coming at you solo dolo until later on in the show, though, because we've got the legend Erin Grugan back on the program to talk some more Sixers in depth, as she will be making regular appearances throughout this 2025-2026 Sixers season here on the show, as our designated Sixers aficionado. Not that I don't know enough, but Erin covers the game day in and day out for Liberty Ballers. She's watching every game, and in my opinion, there's not many more people more knowledgeable than her. So to bring in her expertise with what I'm watching from a fan perspective, I think is invaluable conversation. Very similar to what Seamus and I do, just as boys chopping it up when Seamus is on the show as well. But Erin, just another spectacular sit down with her. Over an hour, talking the 4-0 undefeated Philadelphia 76ers, which there's a lot of good insight, a lot of good nuggets in there that I don't want you to miss. So definitely tune in for that. Shout out to Erin for hopping back on the program this week. We're going to get into the obvious big news with the Philadelphia Eagles. They trade for a corner. We'll get into the Sixers. We'll get into the Flyers as they stay hot. And the Philadelphia Union look to close out Chicago in the opening round of the MLS Cup playoffs. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI across the board. It is the easiest way to stay up to date with everything we're doing. We're on every social platform, looking to keep growing, keep building. Can we get to 4,000 followers on Twitter for the love of all that is holy? We're so close. Keep following us on the socials. You can follow me on Twitter at KBIZZL311, KBIZZLE11 on Instagram. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Please leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for this show to continue growing to new levels, new heights. When you subscribe, it gets us that much closer for us as a company to be doing this full time. We put a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and we want to do this full time. This is our goal. This is our dream. And when you guys subscribe, you help make that dream that much more of a reality. So keep subscribing on Apple and Spotify. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of our original 6 shows on the network. That includes Underground Sports Philadelphia, Outside the Box, Top Binge, Streamer Season, Get in the Hole, and Underground Circuit. I know a couple of those shows have been on a bit of a break. We're just figuring out the flow of content for them and to do it in the best possible way so that we're not half-assing everything. Leave a like on the video. Drop a comment in the comment section. I do read the good comments. I clap back at the bad ones because you're all silly if you're commenting bad comments on a YouTube video. Click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. It really helps the channel continue to grow. We're at 1,115 subscribers, which means we're 85 away from our next 100 subscriber milestone, which we did not unfortunately reach before Harrison and I both turned 21 on the 29th. But nonetheless, we appreciate you. Keep subscribing. Please, 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 for the love of Christ, keep subscribing. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. And guys, this show is proudly presented by the city of Vineland, and the Garden State Comic Fest is right around the corner. We are a mere 2 weeks away, and the Garden State Comic Fest is coming to the new Vineland Convention Center Saturday, November 15th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Meet Melissa Joan Hart, yes, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, plus fan-favorite stars like Dan Parent, the legendary Archie's comic artist and writer, Kevin Clash, the voice of Elmo, Splinter, and Baby Sinclair, and Keith Williams, the iconic comic book inker from Marvel, and more. Comics, cosplay, collectibles, and over 6,000 fans. Visit gscfvineland.com for all the details. Guys, again, the Garden State Comic Fest is coming to the new Vineland Convention Center Saturday, November 15th and Sunday, November 16th. For all the details, visit gscfvineland.com. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast.
Hello, I'm Mayor Anthony Fanucci. Vineland, New Jersey offers both a great business location and an outstanding quality of life. But don't just take my word for it, the experts agree. We're proud to be recognized as a premier food processing and logistics hub, one of New Jersey's most affordable and desirable cities, and one of the best places to retire in the country. Visit vinelandcity.org and see how our resources can work for you. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's good to be back in the saddle. We had a power outage on Thursday, which kind of delayed recording a bit here to Thursday night. But I'm another year older, another year wiser. Celebrated my 32nd birthday on Wednesday, and that's why there was no show recorded on Wednesday. Was just kind of taking it easy, spending time with the fam. And genuinely, like, a lot of reflection on Wednesday as my birthday came around once again on the calendar. And I love my birthday. I'm a big birthday person. I think birthdays should be celebrated all the time. There's no need to not celebrate a birthday, because it's another year of celebrating your existence, celebrating your story on this earth. And that's what I learned in age 31. 31 was quite genuinely, one of, if not the best year of my life. I went through a ton. I learned a lot about myself. I self-reflected a lot. I experienced a lot in this past year. I enjoyed living in the moment. I experienced things for the sake of doing them. You know, a lot of times in the past, I would be afraid to pull the trigger on going and doing something because it would set me behind in work. It would set me behind, you know, in doing things. It would set my sleep schedule off, and getting off kilter with my schedule really threw me for a loop, and playing catch up all the time really, like, weighed on me. But this past year, I took so many opportunities, so many chances to just go and live. You know, I went to, a lot of it was sports related, you know, going to games when I normally wouldn't go to games. I did all three of the home opening series against the Rockies, went to all three games. I went to, you know, the Sixers home opener by myself. I went to the game against the Orlando Magic on Monday with CFO Margie. You know, we went to the Flyers home opener. We did a lot of things this year. And when I say we, I mean, you know, collectively, this podcast, myself, a whole lot. We did a lot this year, and it made me realize, you know, life's too short. Just go do it. You know, the old meme of Shia LaBeouf yelling, "Just do it. Make your dreams come true." That resonated with me a lot this year without me even, like, thinking about that video. And it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, just go do it. Go and experience things. Go and enjoy life. Life's far too short to say no to things, to not go out and live. You know, we went to the Union. I went to my first Philadelphia Union game this year. You know, and just going out and living and experiencing and doing things is so valuable in this lifetime. And it's one of the coolest years of my life. 31, I'll remember it forever. very fondly. I did a lot in age 31, and I try to refer to my life as like a season of TV. You know, it starts on my birthday, ends on my birthday eve, and season 32, I'm looking forward to a lot happening and a lot being bigger and better and stronger and faster, and, you know, doing, you know, this year I got invited to my first movie premiere. You know, it was truly a year for the books, and I want to make season 32, this next year of my life, even bigger and better than 31 was, and that's a huge shoe to fill, but I'm excited for what this year is going to bring me, and a lot of the experiences that I got to, you know, go out and do were because of this podcast, because of the people that listen, because of the people that follow the show. And without you guys, like, who knows what I'm doing? You know, this has been, you know, we're coming up on 8 years in February of doing this journey that is Underground Sports Philadelphia, and learning how to run a business while also creating content nearly daily is a lot. And running a media company is a tall task that there's no guidebook on how to do it. But when you have supportive friends and supportive family members and supportive followers, you're able to do a lot of things that you didn't think you were capable of. And quite frankly, I would not have been capable of doing and experiencing and enjoying nearly everything that I did in year 31 without all of you. So thank you for tuning in, you know, every single week, twice a week, once a week, whatever it may be. Even if it was just once, you know, you tuned in, you gave us a shot. And that has been the overarching goal of this company, is to convert as many people who are looking for their escape from the nonsense that is on terrestrial radio, that is on, you know, the clickbait headlines, and listening to fans give fan analysis about the teams and the players and the coaches that we care about and that we care for and want to see succeed, without going and being outlandish about it. And that is my goal each and every day when I sit in this chair, when I talk into this microphone, is to give you my thoughts on what's going on with our teams and how we can support them and be the best fans we can possibly be, while also delivering critical, you know, takes and analysis and stuff about our teams, but doing it in a tasteful way. And, you know, hosting this show primarily solo for the past couple of years, you know, obviously we had the Pat Pitts era again. We've had Harrison on, and, you know, he's not on every show, but when I don't have anybody here and I'm just kind of talking into the void and talking to myself, it can get scary. It can get vulnerable. It can get kind of, you know, twisted around in a way in your brain when you're thinking about how to word things and don't have somebody else to bounce off of. But I think it's made me a stronger podcaster, and I think it's made me realize that, like, yeah, I'm built for this, and this is something that I can do the rest of my life. So I appreciate you guys for sticking with us through these different eras of the show, for being there through season 31 of my life. And as we enter season 32 now, let's make this the best goddamn season of my life possible. I want to do so much this year. It's such an important year in Philadelphia, with the MLB All-Star Game, with the World Cup, with the, you know, 250th anniversary of the country, and Philadelphia being the birthplace. There's so much that I want to do this year, and it will be possible when we have people like you who are at home listening, watching, sharing this with your friends, sharing this with your family, and recognizing, like, hey, we can be that independent media outlet that you go to twice a week to listen to sports, to listen to entertainment, and get your fix on what's going on in this city sports-wise. So big thank you to everybody for all of the overwhelmingly kind and sweet and generous and loving birthday messages. It means a lot. I know a lot of people get overwhelmed on their birthday when their phones are blowing up and notifications, and you're getting, just messages from people that you haven't heard from in a while. I enjoy it, and it means a lot when you have somebody reach out to you on your birthday, in my opinion, and to have so many people reach out and so many people just give kind thoughts and kind words on my birthday. Like, it makes you feel super special. So thank you to everybody for the birthday messages, whether you listen to this show or not. It means the world. So thank you. And a tip of the cap to everybody at home. Tip of the cap to everybody at home for all the support and love over this past year, over the years in general. And the tip of the cap is brought to you by our friends at 47. Guys, there's no better way to rep your favorite sports teams than with 47. I'm rocking the black and red Sixers hat right now. They're my go-to headwear brand. Truly, it's all I wear. 47. I've got hats in this studio galore. They're just 47 brand for all of our favorite teams, from the Sixers, the Flyers, the Phillies, the Eagles. I've got stuff for Brighton. I got my brand new Philadelphia Union 47. This is the only one I've ever seen in existence. So I'm happy to have that now with that OG Philadelphia Union logo. I love 47. It's the most comfortable headwear in the game, top to bottom, just high quality, and it's the best way to rep your favorite sports team. Use our link in the description. Shop with 47. Gear up for the Sixers, the Flyers, the Eagles, the Phillies, your favorite college sports team, NASCAR, WNBA, and so much more. And when you use our link in the description to shop, make sure you join the 47 family, because then you start earning points on every purchase you make, and you get free shipping on all orders when you join the 47 family. So use our link in the description to shop with 47 and get free shipping on all orders when you join the 47 family. And we thank 47 for being a proud partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. But yeah, tip of the cap to the people. Shout out to all of you for the love, the support, the kindness on my birthday. And let's make year 32, season 32 for your boy the best one yet, because that's what I'm looking to do this year, is make this the best year yet. And on top of that, not only did I get presents from people, messages, kindness from people, I got a present from GM, President of Football Operations, Howie Roseman, on my birthday, as the Philadelphia Eagles, as we get into the content here, swing a trade for Michael Carter II from the New York Jets in exchange for John Mechie III, and a couple of draft picks were swapped in the process as well. Michael Carter II, slot corner, 26 years old, was a fifth-round pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. He is he's a nice little addition, I think, to this team. He went to Duke, was in the 2021 draft, fifth-round pick, like I said. And, this trade, I think, signals a huge message to the fan base that we recognize the corner position's not all the way there. So Carter and a 2027 seventh-round pick were traded to the Eagles in exchange for John Mechie and a 2027 sixth-round pick. So fun little trade there for the Philadelphia Eagles. Michael Carter II, looking at his stats in his career, he's played in 5 games this year. Hasn't really been all that crazy this year. 2 pass deflections. But you look at, 2023 Michael Carter, 9 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 50 combined tackles, 37 of them being solo. He's a hard-hitting corner, and he can play in the slot. I think he's an interesting case for this team to build a little more toughness in the secondary. Not that they're not tough, but you have a lot of guys who are precision guys. Quinyon Mitchell, in particular, Cooper DeJean, who can be physical, but now where does Cooper kind of line up in this secondary, depending on where you play Michael Carter, who has primarily been a slot guy? Do you put Coop on the outside? Do you mix and match those guys? Do you see what Michael Carter II can do, on the outside? Do you try that in a Vic Fangio defense? I also think it's interesting that they swung this trade, and Joe Douglas is the guy that drafted Michael Carter II, who is now back with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't think Howie makes a trade for a guy like this unless Joe Douglas is saying, hey, if this guy's available, I think we can really utilize his talents and his strengths to our best ability. So that's a valuable, voice to have in the room and how he's making this trade. But I like the deal. John Mechie wasn't getting playing time. Just didn't work out here, unfortunately, and I like John Mechie, the player. I think he has a chance to go and succeed on a team like the Jets and be an offensive playmaker for them. It just didn't work out because the Eagles have A.J. Brown, they have Devontae Smith, they have Jahan Dotson, they have Dallas Goedert, they have Saquon Barkley, they have Tank Bigsby now, they have Will Shipley. It just wasn't in the cards for John Mechie to really get enough playing time. So I think it's also a nice job by Howie Roseman to do right by a player and give him an opportunity to go play on a team where he will see playing time, whether that be offense or special teams. I like this trade. I don't think it's like a world beater type of trade. This isn't, blowing your socks off type of deal. It's a nice middle of the road type of trade. It's like a B-, C+ trade for me. Draft picks involved, whatever, and it's late draft picks, so it's nothing like crazy, but it's like a B- type of trade. We'll see what Michael Carter can do for this team. I don't know what his contract situation is. Let's see. Contract. So he signed a 3-year, almost $31 million deal with the Jets going into last year with his rookie extension. So he is signed under contract through 2027, and then there's a void year in 2028 where he would become an unrestricted free agent. I did see he voided or waived his $6 million something or other bonus to make the trade go through, so I think that may have been 2028. But there's a potential out after 2026 that makes this a 2-year deal, so that's an interesting aspect of this too. I think it's a solid deal. You're getting a guy who's cost controlled. He's not making all that much money this year. $943,000 is what's left on the base salary before it bumps up in 2026 to $9.69 million, almost $9.7 million, which I think you can probably wind up cutting him after this year if you need to. But I think this is a solid trade. You see what he has, bolsters your secondary, lets Adoree Jackson and Ja'Cory Bennett get healthy. Keely Ringo, it lets him continue to play special teams, and I think this is a good test for Cooper DeJean now, because I think a lot of people don't think Coop can play the outside. I do think he can in certain aspects. It's just a matter of, can he do it consistently, which I think he can. I think he has the wherewithal. I think he has the football IQ to play on the outside a lot and do it well. But it's a matter of, do the Eagles think that? Do they think that Cooper DeJean is able to go out and, be able to consistently play the outside to where it's not a detriment to the team? I think he can. I trust Cooper DeJean's athleticism, his strength, and his route running ability to travel with the number 2 wide receiver and be in the mix and have Quinyon and Coop on the outside, have Michael Carter II in the slot, mix some things up if need be. But I think this makes this team stronger. I think it makes them better. Michael Carter comes in with the bye week, gets a chance to learn the playbook a little bit better. I like the move a lot. I think it's a quality trade for the Philadelphia Eagles here to go and get Michael Carter II. And the Eagles are in a bye. A.J. Brown nonsense continues to trickle out. Allegedly, the Patriots offered a second-round pick for A.J. Brown, and it's totally evident that Diana Rossini's sources are within that Patriots building, whether that be Mike Vrabel or somebody in the front office. It's very evident that's where her sources are coming from. And she was just used to jar up controversy so that the Eagles would accept a second-round pick for A.J. Brown. But Howie Roseman is the smartest goddamn GM in the National Football League, and one of, if not the smartest GM in all of sports. It's going to take a whole hell of a lot more than a second-round pick to go and get a Super Bowl champion, 3-time, just absolute dog of a player in terms of Pro Bowl, All-Pro, demon in A.J. Brown off of this roster. He's not going anywhere. People who don't understand how the salary cap works, please stop talking about NFL trades, because if I see anybody talking about A.J. Brown trades and I don't see a lick of the salary cap mentioned, your persona, your credibility, your entire just existence to me is diminished to below the earth's crust. I can't take you seriously if that is the case. So let that be known. The A.J. Brown stuff is absolute nonsense. Michael Carter II is a Philadelphia Eagle, and we just get to enjoy 9 hours of sort of commercial-free football on Sunday and watch Red Zone and Rot all day as we set our clocks back on Sunday, and we get an extra hour of sleep. So that's the Eagles updates there. Let's get into some other stuff, but before we do, I want to talk to you guys about our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Guys, there's no better way to stand out in the crowd, whether you want to rep the Phillies, the Flyers, the Sixers, the Union, or your favorite Philly sports podcast, Underground Sports Philadelphia, and our entire network, than with PHI Apparel Company, because with their unique designs for all, there's no doubt in our minds you will stand out in the crowd. Go to phiapparel.co, and when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND to get 10% off your next merch order from PHI Apparel Company. Again, phiapparel.co, code UNDERGROUND, 10% off your next order. Stand out in the crowd with the official merch partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Also want to talk to you guys about our awesome interview with Erin Grugan. Not really an interview, just segment. I don't know what we're going to call it. Underground Ballers, maybe, because she's at Liberty Ballers. Really fun sit down with Erin to talk about our 4-0 76ers and what is in store for this team upcoming. The NBA Cup is on the horizon this week, kicking it off against the Celtics at Xfinity Mobile Arena, or as I am like calling it now, the Cable Box. We're all eyes on the NBA Cup. We want to win the Cup because it's the Cup, okay? Erin and I sit, we talk about, is this team just good? Are they just ready to rock and roll? And a whole lot more. But stick around, sit tight. Fun stuff upcoming with Erin Grugan of Liberty Ballers, making her weekly, sort of weekly. I don't know how we're defining it yet, but her next appearance here on Underground Sports Philadelphia. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Erin Grugan on Underground Sports Philadelphia.
The Vineland Municipal Utilities is committed to helping your business succeed. As a community-owned utility, our focus is on service, not profit. From site planning to powering your operations, we can help you achieve your strategic goals. Whether it's a customized cost analysis of your usage needs, engineering support to ensure a smooth interconnection, or offering lower rates than neighboring utilities, we want to be your partner in creating an environment for long-term success. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season.
All right, everybody, we are back for another installment of Erin Grugan Talk Sixers on Underground Sports Philadelphia. Underground Ballers, who knows what we'll call this segment, but nonetheless, the Sixers are 4-0 since the first time Erin came on the show. People are observing, noticing, watching. Erin, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll take all the credit, for the turnaround.
The true key point of the vibes, Erin Grugan coming on the podcast.
Yeah, clearly. Hey, look, I mean, we didn't do it last year, and look what happened. So
Look at what happened. We're just here to fix the vibes, everybody.
Of course.
Which takes us to our first point, Erin. Are the Sixers just good? They're 4-0. They're clawing, scratching, and battling back in damn near every game they've played in. And even though the third quarter is their Achilles heel, they still go out and find a way. Are they just good?
I mean, it's funny because I think good is obviously relative. Do I think they're Oklahoma City Thunder good? No. Do I think they're necessarily competing for a finals just yet? No. We do have a very small sample size of 4 games here, but I think the fight and I think a lot of things are looking better, much better than even anticipated. They do look like a good team in that they have really good fundamentals, really good battle, really good fight. So we have to wait and see a little bit more. Everything that we're going to talk about goes under the caveat of small sample size, but I'll say so far so good.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at just the way that they have battled back in, like we said, every single game, but it's on top of that, the first and second quarters, you have guys like Maxey coming out and shooting the lights out of the gym to start the games, where I feel like in years past with Tyrese Maxey in particular, it would be more spread out throughout a game where he would like kind of find his spot, find his flow. Now it's just off the rip, especially from 3-point range where he is like locked in. And, he's starting off every game. It's the first quarter. You look and he's already made 4 3-pointers. And you're like, what the hell is going on? And I think that was one of the big things that a lot of people were asking of Tyrese Maxey coming into this season, is to become more of a consistent, one of those just like dropping shots from wherever. And it just feels like he's comfortable everywhere on the court finding his 3-point shot.
Yeah, absolutely. He's shooting, I believe, 47 or slightly over 47% from 3 to start the season. And that's not on, 4 attempts. It's on 38 attempts across 4 games. And I think a lot of it has to do with, again, we talked about it last week, just the mental of the entire team seems a lot different than in years past. And I think he's just getting in a groove and has the tendency to make these leaps from season to season. I'm sure he didn't like how he shot last season. And we know he is a first in the gym, last out of the gym type kid. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a big focus for him, especially knowing that you have VJ coming in. You have all these other guards that can take point if you need them to, and he can really sit out there and take those shots. He's just been a monster. I mean, it's really amazing what Maxey has been able to do the last couple games, and I think we're a little spoiled to it in Philly because we're used to it to an extent. And again, small sample size, but if he can keep up this trajectory, a lot of people are going to have to take notice pretty quickly.
Once again, thank you, Mike Muscala.
Yes,
and I literally put his jersey in the rafters, like just call it a day. And I think the big thing with Maxey too, you would see him not consistently, for lack of a better term, struggle, but it was a noticeable difference when Joel was out of the lineup with him, and he had to do so much more. Now it feels like he's not only comfortable, like just finding a shot wherever, but it feels like he's just comfortable on the floor, even without Joel. We saw it, with a Dembono on the floor. We've seen it with Andre Drummond. We've seen it in, small ball lineups. It feels like now, no matter who's on the floor, Tyrese Maxey's just like, I just got to realize I'm an elite player and just go and play my game.
Yeah, I it's interesting because you would think, without Joel Embiid, he did struggle a lot more. The spacing wasn't there. And then I think he tried to just do too much. He knew it was, for a while, it was either he was going to perform or Joel was going to perform. And if neither of them did, the game was going to be a loss. I think now he might at least have a little bit more confidence in, he has VJ Edgecombe, he has Quentin Grimes, he has Joel Embiid for 20 minutes right now. He has it's a weird balance between, I think he trusts his teammates more and doesn't try to do too much, but also is really growing into the role of this is his team now. You can tell just in the shift on it, the shift in the mental and how they prepare for games, that it's Tyrese Maxey's team now. And maybe just kind of having that actually come to fruition is giving him a confidence boost. That with the teammates he's got around him, it's working out for him. He's poised to take another leap, which I keep asking, at what point does he run out of leaps to make? But, I'm enjoying watching it. So,
Yeah, and I think it's a trickle-down effect too, where you see the confidence from Tyrese Maxey, you see the way he's been playing. I think that has trickled down to VJ Edgecombe, that has trickled down to Kelly Oubre Jr., that has trickled down to the likes of Eric Gordon, of all people, who I was stunned in the game against the Magic to see on the floor for the first time. I was like, whoa, I forgot he was on this team still. But it feels like everyone is kind of just, feasting on the confidence that Tyrese Maxey is putting on display on the floor. And it's showcasing itself. Like Kelly Oubre Jr., I feel like, is off to the best start of his career.
Kelly has been playing absolutely phenomenally, and he had quite possibly his best game as a Sixer. Not the last game. I can't remember who it is against off the top of my head already. But he had 25 points. He's on,
Orlando.
I think he has 2 double-doubles in a row already. He's putting up 25 points. He's grabbing a ton of rebounds. He's another person that I think really benefits from not trying to do too much. When he's trying to go outside of his role, that's when you see him start struggling, get a little sloppy, start missing shots, some turnovers. I think there was just maybe a better understanding from these players of what their role is when they get into a game, and to not try to all be the hero all the time. Which is hard as a competitor. You want to take the shots, you want to be making the points and getting the stats and helping your team, but that can go too far the other way, and that's when you start seeing the sloppiness and things like that. It feels like everybody that's come in, I mean, from Andre Drummond to Eric Gordon to the players that were a little iffy last year for sure. It seems like they know exactly what they are expected to do now when they go out on the court, and it's a lot smoother going so far.
And I think that's a testament to the type of coach Nick Nurse is. And I think we got a raw deal of knowing the type of coach Nick Nurse is just because of, it felt like everything, whether it was organizational philosophy or just like the way this coaching staff came in, was like, okay, we have Joel Embiid. He's got to be the focal point. It felt like we kind of just didn't get the full Nick Nurse experience of actually how good of a coach he is. And not saying, I think basketball is a lot more important to have a good coach than maybe say baseball manager, where they don't affect the outcomes as much. But I think Nick Nurse is one of the most underappreciated head coaches, and that dates back to when he was coaching the Raptors. I think he just kind of gets this like oversight. He wears glasses. He's like this big, lovable, nerdy type guy. He gets on stage with the Arkells and plays guitar with them. And I think he's a truly like bright basketball mind. And I think this year, through 4 games, we're finally seeing the type of coach and the type of, impact he can have on a game when he has a full arsenal of like, oh, I can use every piece on the chessboard now.
Yeah, for sure. We talked about just kind of the organizational shift. Not to say, that you don't rely on Joel Embiid or anything like that, or you don't use him. Obviously you do, but it felt like for the past few years, Nick Nurse got kind of sold a bad bit of goods where he thought he was coming into this situation where maybe he thought he'd have more control. And not to say that every decision he'll ever make rotationally or making challenges or things like that will be perfect, but it seems like along with the culture shift has come, okay, this is your team. These are your players. Here's what you have at your disposal. We're going to let you actually run with it a little bit. I mean, he's kind of had his hands tied behind his back since he's gotten here to an extent.
Yeah.
And I think it hasn't been necessarily a fair representation of him. But again, I think that's a great opportunity for this year. Do you know that it'll turn out perfect? No. I think he has enough experience and enough, the word I'm looking for, enough achievements to speak for themselves. But this is the first time in Philadelphia where he's really going to get a chance to run the team the way he wants to, and we're going to see how successful that is. But so far, so good.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's also a testament to his coaching style and his approach to coaching, along with the guys on this team, because Quentin Grimes is off to an unbelievable start. And you want to talk about someone who could have just come into this organization disgruntled, just walked into work, walked out, not interacted with it. He seems like he's having the time of his life on the court. And I mean, good on the front office getting him signed, but I think it's a testament to this roster and the leadership and Nick Nurse and his staff to make sure that Quentin Grimes realized, like, hey, you are a valuable asset to this roster, and we are going to need you if we're going to compete, if we're going to be a playoff team, especially in the early go when Joel is on minute restrictions and when we're trying to, figure out, different lineups that we want to put out there. Quentin Grimes could have just, sulked and found a way to get himself out of here. He's done the polar opposite, and I think we're so jaded as Philadelphia fans where we've had so many people do, the sulking game and let me, get me out of here, that it's like this breath of fresh air that somebody who was fighting to get more money, fighting to get more years on a contract, didn't get what he wanted, but he's still coming out here and balling on a night in, night out basis, and has been a pivotal part to this team being 4-0.
Absolutely. I think because of the experiences of Philadelphia fans with things like James Harden and Ben Simmons, I understand that when things start to go back and forth with the business side of things, everybody's like, well, this is going to carry into the season and it's going to be a giant mess. And it's going to be, does that happen? Absolutely. Again, we have experienced it more than our fair share.
Terrell Owens.
But I think, yeah, exactly. Not even just the Sixers. And now you have the Phillies talking with Bryce Harper and things like that. And I always try to remind people that there is a business side to this, that even if Quentin Grimes wanted more money and didn't get it and things like that, when it comes down to, okay, now it's time to play basketball, most of the time that business stuff goes off to the side if it can. Like, he has a contract, he's here probably for the full year with the no trade clause. Now it's time to play basketball. Most players, especially ones in his position where you're probably fighting for your future, you're fighting for that next contract that you're going to get, there's every incentive to go out and play really well or play to your best at least, and not just sulk away. He's not James Harden. He's not going to get a contract just based off of him being there. But I also think that, the malicious side of the business doesn't always carry over to, he doesn't feel that way about his teammates. He doesn't feel that him and his agent wanted to fight for more money. They didn't get it. This was the result. It was probably a result we could have reached months before they actually did. But it was just a drawn out business process. It's just what it is. But now it's time to play basketball, and he's showing that, he's showing the line there between the business side and this, and he's absolutely looking good so far.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. And I mean, he's part of what I feel like is this never say die attitude that this team has had through 4 games. And a lot of that is the result of defense kind of falling apart in the third quarter, which, that's definitely got to be cleaned up for sure.
Yeah, defense in general has left a lot to be desired. I see people saying that in response to the wins, oh, the defense is terrible. It is, and it is going to come back to bite them at some point. But if you can play defense as poorly as they have at some moments, and you're still coming away with wins right now, you take those, work on the defense as much as you can, but you take the wins where you can get them, whether they're ugly or not. And that's what they're doing right now. These are not the prettiest wins. They've been outscored in every third quarter so far, and some by a lot, and some by a few points, and some by a last second heave that added 3 points from full court. Yeah, and then it happened again, actually. Fortunately, they didn't get it off in time, but it's been something that I think has affected this team before this year also. The third quarter I don't know what they do in the locker room, that the third quarter they just seem to come out flat. But again, like you said, they're pulling out wins, and they're fighting, they're battling back on the offensive end, and they're battling back defensively as well. Like it seems like a switch gets turned, and Quentin Grimes was a big part of that last game with hitting a three and then immediately grabbing a steal while they're battling back from a 19-point deficit. It seems like there's always a player ready to turn it on when they need it right now.
Which, like, with this attitude that they have put on display, whether, Joel is on the court or not as well, I think is a huge part of it. Who do you think is responsible? What do you think is responsible? Is it just like we've mentioned last time you were on it, and now just kind of that organizational switch in philosophy? What do you think is responsible for this team? Because, even before last year, 2023, 2022, there would be moments where it would be like you're watching a game, they're down, they're clawing back, but you just know in the back of your head they don't have enough to get it done.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the teams of the past 4 or 5 years, obviously last year is always a weird one, but I think the teams of the last few years don't win 4-4 of these games, especially not the 19-point comeback and pushing to overtime and things like that. And it's exactly what you said. They would have these pushes, but it would either be too little, too late, or they just didn't have somebody hot enough on the hand to make the shots. They would get the steals but not be able to make the shots, or they would hit their shots and not be able to make a single stop. I really do think, I keep going back to, it feels like a culture shift within the organization. I think, coming out and not saying we're competing for a title, Joel's going to play, 60 games, we're going to do this, that. I think they're playing looser. I think there is a benefit to not having this idea of, it's the Joel Embiid window and it's closing and it's closing. No, it's build something for the future, build basketball that you can play the next couple of seasons, whether you have Joel Embiid for 20 minutes a night, whether you have him eventually for 30, or if you don't have him out there at all for games. It really feels like just top to bottom, a shift on just play sustainable basketball and keep fighting. And it's showing in the energy of players, like you said, like Tyrese Maxey and VJ, obviously. But I mean, you see Quentin getting hyped up. You see Joel Embiid on the bench, incredibly hyped up. I think these sorts of things matter. You saw the sulking from guys like Joel Embiid and Paul George and things like that. And that's not to slight them. They were hurt, and it's frustrating when you're supposed to be this good team and you are putting up 20 wins a season. That's tough to deal with. But I think it's just a complete culture shift of, we're not sure what we're competing for right now, but let's just go out and compete every single night. We'll worry about the record later. We'll worry about the play-in later. We'll worry about all that later. It almost feels like it's secondary. Right now, it feels like every game is, okay, how do we win this game that's in front of us?
Yeah, and I mean, that's even, trickling down, like we said earlier, to guys like, Jabari Walker and Dominic Barlow and Justin Edwards. Like, you're seeing them be key contributors in moments, whether it be, just in this moment, we need a clutch 2-point, drive the ball to the basket, or we need a 3. And those guys are coming through. And I think the big thing you mentioned there, Joel Embiid, I think, even in years past when he wasn't necessarily injured, where he'd be out of a game and he's just the ultimate competitor and wants to be on the floor all the time. If he wasn't out there, you could kind of see like, damn, how are they doing this without me? Now, he's celebrating with the guys. You see the moments he's had with Bono, with VJ. Like, it feels like what we talked about last week, where the mental shift for him has really clicked in a positive way for him, that he can just enjoy being around his teammates. He can enjoy the successes of others, knowing he doesn't necessarily have to be the one that's fully responsible for it.
Exactly. And I think we talked about the culture change of shifting away from, it's not shifting away from Joel Embiid in a negative way. It's just saying it can't be all up to him. And honestly, it shouldn't have been all up to him for 5 years. Yes, he's a phenomenal player. Absolutely one of the best bigs to ever play. 100%. But even taking away all the injuries, the amount of pressure it puts on one guy to be like, okay, basically this is your window. You have to get this franchise that hasn't had a championship in a bazillion years, a championship, or you're a failure, basically. And that is basically what was being put on his shoulders for years. And I think the idea of it not coming down to him is shifting to something positive for him. It's a double-edged sword in a way, because you're like, oh, it's not a we don't need you thing. It's just a we can also carry some of the load, the rest of the team. And I think he has quickly learned, like, okay, you know what? If I can go out for 20 minutes, put up 20 points, help carry them a little of the way, let the kids finish the game out. If they have the energy to, force this to overtime and get these wins where it seems like hope is lost to an extent, with a 19-point deficit, let them do that. He doesn't need to be the one to kill himself on the court every single night to do it. And I think that's helping take some weight off his shoulders mentally.
Yeah, and I think it's just like we've mentioned, like the organizational philosophy, it feels like just the mindset is just more evenly distributed across the team. Like going into games is like, it felt like, from the jump, it was, hey, it's Joel Embiid or bust. Now it's like, hey, Tyrese Maxey can go do this. VJ can go do this. Kelly Oubre can go do that. And it's not all on Joel's shoulders. And now everyone almost feels a level of responsibility to do their part and be successful at their role. And I think that's why through 4 games, you've seen Kelly Oubre off to a phenomenal start. Why you've seen Tyrese Maxey be a lot more comfortable all over the floor, no matter what spacing is, no matter where the shot comes from. And I think that's just like the mental distribution of, hey, we all have a part in making this thing successful.
Exactly. It all goes back to every player, when they try to do too much, whether they are in, a all-time superstar, all-star, or just a role player, anytime a player starts to try to do too much, I think that's when things become detrimental. And for the past few years, that's kind of felt like what it was, where it was like, all right, so Joel Embiid has to do everything. And if Joel's out, then Tyrese really needs to do everything. And if Tyrese is out, then the whole season is just a wash. And it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. And I think maybe the organization could have noticed this 3 years ago instead of last year, but I'm glad it's happening. It just seems like everybody is taking on their own responsibility, but not trying to take on everyone's. And it's a huge difference.
100%. And, speaking of responsibilities, Adem Bona must listen to the show because he made us sound like absolute geniuses against the Wizards. I mean, what a defensive masterclass. What a just like mentality masterclass. He was incredible down the stretch. And that's not to slight how incredible someone like Andre Drummond was against the Hornets. He was fantastic in his own right, getting rebounds and moving the ball in transition. The backup big has been our Achilles heel for the entire Joel Embiid era. I'm still not mentally recovered from Greg Monroe. The fact that you can have guys step in like Bona, like Drummond, the way that they have played so far is such a huge benefit for this team. But specifically Adem Bona, I think this was a game that he needed for just his career confidence in the early go, where it's like, hey, I can do this. I can provide a valuable asset, to this team and be somebody who can play late in games and be a catalyst to turn a game around. I thought he put on an absolute defensive masterclass against the Wizards.
It was really an impressive display of just locking in the time and the place. The first stint that he played in that game, it was really not much of anything and really didn't do anything that positive, and then comes in with 7 minutes left in the fourth, and between there and overtime puts up 5 blocks, scores just 2 points, but they happen to be the go-ahead put back dunk, which I just thought was such a simple but a brilliant play. Sets up the screen for Tyrese Maxey out at the logo and just trails him all the way to the rim. Maxey leaves the layup a little bit short, and he's right there to slam it home. And then puts up the block on the other end, his 5th and final block of the game. Just just about that locking in and doing what they can do. You know, he's never going to be an offensive center by any means. He has a lot of room to grow offensively just to make it a little bit more serviceable to keep him out there longer. But my God, what a defensive monster. I mean, it is his sophomore season. You know, he got put through the ringer last year with more playing time than I think probably expected coming in. But my goodness, just what a monster performance. And I loved how excited Joel Embiid was for him. It's that sort of moment where you see the mental passing of the torch a little bit. And again, not even fully passing. I think people are rushing to be like, well, the Joel Embiid era is over. And it's like, yes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's the relying solely on Joel Embiid era should be over, should have been over before. Now it's, we're all going to carry this weight a bit. And Maxey was great down the stretch in that game. It's about people locking in the right times. But my God, yeah, Bona, and you mentioned Drummond. We don't win that game without him.
No.
That Hornets game, he just having somebody that actually can battle for rebounds. And I'll be the first to admit that when I saw him coming in, I made a joke on the Liberty Ballers Twitter that was like, well, it's Andre Drummond minutes time already. So that's great. And man, he made me look like an absolute idiot, and I will own up to it because he has just doing exactly what we need him to do. Not more, not less. Go in there, use the big ass body you have to fight for rebounds, get the things the plugging the weaknesses in this team rather than trying to do everything it's just showing off already. It's great.
And I think that mentality switch too for the backup bigs, whether it be Bona, whether it be Drummond, I feel like in the early go, they both now realize, hey, I'm not Joel Embiid. Yes. I'm not going to be able to do everything Joel Embiid does. Let me just play the Andre Drummond game. Let me play the Adem Bona game.
Exactly.
And I think too, for Joel's like excitement about Bona, I do wonder like how much of even though they're from different parts of Africa, I do wonder if it is that sense of pride of like, hey, this is the next big man in this Sixers organization representing Africa on the big stage. And I do wonder like that cultural pride that he's exhibiting, and just like letting it shine through Adem and knowing the work that he's put in to get to this point. I do wonder how much of that connection is there and just the overall, emotion that he feels seeing him go out there and have a game like he did against the Wizards.
Absolutely. I'm sure it plays a role in it. And I think just part of, when Joel Embiid doesn't have to spend the entire season thinking this is all on me, everything is on me, I think it makes it easier to reflect on the achievements of your teammates. He's always been somebody that I think was hyped up for, his teammates. He's always in the celebration pictures when you see, somebody has an amazing game. But I mean, from the start with VJ Edgecombe's first game, him being out there throwing water at him and stuff like that, like, I think not only is that huge for the young guys to have, an NBA MVP hyping you up and saying like, I don't even care if I'm the one that didn't score 40 points. Like, this is great. This is great for the team. But I think it's easier for him to reflect on the bigger picture, let's say, when he's not forced to carry it all himself. So, and it's mutually beneficial for his teammates.
And, sticking with Joel, obviously the minute restrictions, we saw him play a little bit over in, I don't know if in the Wizards game. I think he played 23 minutes maybe.
Yeah, he's hovering right around 20. They're not pushing it too much, which I do appreciate. To be quite honest,
they've stuck with it, and it's been, for lack of a better term, a positive effort. Obviously, the season opener wasn't everything that he wanted it to be, but since then, it's been wildly positive. He's put up 20 plus points, 25 points in his last game in, those limited minutes, and he's gone out and been the presence that you still want him to be. He's scoring, he's, going and getting rebounds, and while it doesn't look like MVP Joel Embiid, it's still 80% of what that was, and if you can get 80% Joel Embiid in limited minutes, you're sitting in pretty good shape no matter what team you are.
Exactly. And the thing is, we haven't seen 100% Joel Embiid in quite some time. So I think, shooting for that, people have this imagination that at some point he's going to return to being, 2020, 2021. And it's not going to happen. It's not physically capable of happening. His knee isn't there, the aging, everything. That's just not how reality works especially for big basketball players. That's it's a 7-foot man falling every time on that knee and walking every time on that knee. But about the minutes restriction, I think it's been great, and I think I'm wildly impressed, honestly, that they're sticking to it.
Yeah.
I actually thought with the comeback game, as we're getting towards, overtime, and okay, maybe they will pull this out and force overtime, I thought, do they try to put him back out there? And I was actually really, really glad they didn't. Obviously, we got the Adembona performance that we got, but when it was coming time to make that decision of, okay, who do you put at center to close this one out? Like, do you try to put him back out there? You can't. I think that was the mistake that they've made the past few years. But on the minutes restriction, I saw a lot of people online giving him crap, because of course they do, about saying the phrase something about, I might as well stay home with my family if I'm only going to play.
So good.
But he wasn't saying about the 20 minutes. He didn't like in the season opener, it was very short stints and more of them. And the point was that he can't get into a rhythm. He said, I'd rather play 2 8-minute stints or 2 10-minute stints than play, 5 4-minute ones.
Right.
That was the point of what he said. And if you need any, sort of convincing, look at the stats. That first game, he could not get into a rhythm. He shot 11%. He had 4 points. The next 2 games, he's out there for, we'll say 7 6-minute stints. All of a sudden, it's 20 points. It's 25 points. He's shooting over 50% from the floor in those 2 games. Again, small sample size. But that's, I think, enough of a difference where you can see the longer they're figuring it out. When I use that word, it's a process. Things don't fall together right away like that. And I think a lot of people saw that first game and were worried, and that's totally fair. He didn't look like himself, and he isn't himself when you compare it to 4 years ago. But if you can get 20 minutes, 20 points, I imagine he'll play a little longer as the season goes on. But if you even could just get 20 minutes and 20 points out of him, every single game except for back-to-backs or, a couple games here or there missed, I don't know what more you can ask of him. People saying about the rebounding, I think those things will come. You got to give him a chance to trust his knee a little bit more and feel a little bit more comfortable. But I also think he was probably told, don't throw yourself at a November rebound and injure yourself for the rest of the year. Those are the mistakes he made when he was younger, and he feels the repercussions of it every single day, I'm sure. So, it seems like he knows a lot more about how to play the right way in those 20 minutes that he's out there. He's not throwing himself on the floor. When he does fall, you could tell it's a very concerted effort to fall the right way. Which there is a lot of right ways to fall as a big guy like that and to try to protect the knee. And you can see it, and it probably goes into why his attitude is better too. It's not hard to sit down after 20 minutes, 25 points and say, okay, I did what I could do. Let the kids finish this one out. It all builds on the success of how this team is going to work is going to build on itself, sort of thing. If Joel can get his 8 minutes at a time like he wants, he'll do better. He'll feel better on the bench. Everybody else will be set up for a little bit more success because he'll have scored 25 points. It all just builds off of itself.
Yeah, and we're obviously not going to see MVP Joel again, if ever, at least anytime soon. Are we starting to see MVP Tyrese Maxey? And is it time for the national audience to start recognizing how good of a player he is? And I'm not even talking to the referees who still don't give him his whistles.
Yeah.
Just in general, I think Tyrese Maxey, and we talked about it on the last episode that you were on, like, he can find a way to jettison himself and cement himself this year as a top 15, top 12 type of player. And I think he's already starting to supersede that the way that he's, started to play this season, multiple 40-point games, almost had one against the Wizards too, 39 there. Like, he's on a trajectory that we haven't seen from him yet. He's continuing to take those leaps, like we mentioned. Is it time for the national NBA viewing audience, the national basketball viewing audience, to really recognize how elite of a player Tyrese Maxey is?
I mean, I think they're going to have to. That's the thing. Again, the caveat of we are dealing with a small sample size right now. We're 4 games with our 5th game tonight on Halloween. But he's averaging 37.5 points. He's got 2 40-point games in 4 games. There's just not that many point guards in the game right now. Again, through a week or so, playing to the level that he is playing. So I think if you can continue this trajectory, or even to 75% of it, if he's averaging 30 points a game after a couple weeks, or, and this is with 8.5 assists every night, and he's shooting, I think we said over 47% from 3, and he's firing them. It's not like, that's on a high volume clip. They're going to have to, because there's just going to be no argument. He's absolutely carrying this team at times, putting up, 7-0 runs all by himself in crucial fourth period minutes. And they're just going to have to, acknowledge it. And I would not be surprised to see if he could keep playing to, again, even 75% of this level. I think you'll see those MVP odds slowly creep down a little bit. I don't know how. It depends on how else everybody else is playing. But right now, you'd be hard pressed to say he's not on a trajectory to maybe start entering those conversations for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, through 4 games, obviously, like we've been saying, small sample size.
Yeah.
His field goal attempts are way up, 25.3. His 3-point attempts are at 4.5, which is the highest clip of his career by far. Last year was the highest at 3.1. And he's averaging, which will level out more than likely as the season goes on, the most minutes played of his career at 43.
Yeah. We want to see that come down a little bit, hopefully. I mean, obviously he's in well enough shape to do it and clearly has no issue with it. You just don't want to have to rely on that for 40 minutes, but that is the benefit of having some guys that are coming back, having Jared McCain come back soon, taking some of that weight off of him, because VJ's up there as well. He's up there getting close to 40-minute averages, I would imagine, which is, again, if they're playing great, but you really do run the risk of burning them out or having them get hurt. But yeah, just unbelievable plays. And I think his shot selection is a lot smarter. He still takes some of those circus shots that, we call circus shots, but they're almost always now necessary. He's not taking them just because he thinks he has to. It's, okay, there's no time on the shot clock. Okay, I got to hit this jumper real quick, things like that. He just seems to be playing a lot more efficiently and a lot smarter. Not that he ever wasn't, but it just keeps getting better with him.
Yeah, and I mean, they're 4-0. They're playing the way they are, and they're still not fully healthy. Jared McCain has not played yet. Paul George has not played yet. Joel Embiid is on a minutes restriction still. I mean, when they get these guys back, hopefully what will be a fully healthy Paul George, hopefully what will be a fully healthy Jared McCain, coming into finishing what would have been a rookie season in terms of games played by the time, everything's all said and done and then some. Is this a sign for even better things to come for this team?
It should be. I've never had a team that got, that gets worse with depth, I've seen a lot of the talk recently about like, oh, do we even need Paul George? All right, let's calm down. It's been 4 games. And we talked about it a bit last time. I'm not 100% sold on Paul George as a Sixer either, but I also think that judging it off of last year would just be, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, he hyperextended his knee pretty badly in preseason and then hyperextended the same knee. And these were not like, oh, phantom IL stints. Like, these were hyperextensions you could physically see on TV.
He was wearing a boot to the club.
Literally, yeah, exactly. He gets the ragging for the podcasting and all that, and I totally understand that's fine, but I think people that say that don't realize that, like, having a perimeter shooter that's actually a threat could be huge for the spacing of the Sixers offense. I mean, you see it when they go stagnant now. It's usually because one of the two people we have that can hit 3-pointers is not out there. So they just sit their whole defense back in the lanes. And yeah, you want to shoot from out there? Go ahead. You're not going to make it anyway. We're getting lucky now that we're having, Eric Gordon hit some threes, Kelly Oubre hit some threes, but they're not going to probably be your guys hitting 5 threes every night. Having a perimeter shooter like that, like Paul George can be. I mean, even last year, I know everybody likes to rag on last year. I don't know how much they were even paying attention at this point. He was having very decent games. Some not so great, but for the most part, he's putting up 18 points a night, 20 points a night, hitting from 3. I think more of the struggles came when he would try to go into that really James Harden ISO ball type thing, but I don't think you're going to get that now with the way the rest of the team is built, or at least hopefully he knows that. But he was hitting corner threes at practice the other day and looked, if you can do that, the idea that we don't have room for that is absolutely baffling to me. It is so funny how quick the conversation turned on that. But I think a lot of it is, like I said, a little misinformed from last season, which is understandable. Now, am I saying Paul George comes back, and could he come back and be, slow down the offense, try to do too much ISO work, not hit his threes? Yes, all of that could happen. But I would, maybe say, let's give him a shot first before we write him off.
Especially from what we've seen from, the depth guys like Kelly Oubre, Eric Gordon, Drummond, Bono, like them knowing their roles. And I think that's just a reflection of Nick Nurse finally having his full complement of coaching style, like we mentioned earlier. If Paul George has bought into that philosophy and bought into what his role is going to be, it makes this team exponentially better.
Absolutely. And you look at the difference again in the games that they're going to be coming into. Last year, especially before last season started, it was, okay, you have Joel Embiid and Paul George now, like, you better win the title this year. And we all know how last year went. Whereas this year, you're coming in and it's like, you're probably not competing for a title, but hey, your team is undefeated. You're watching the youth of your team absolutely carry in some games. I think it would be hard not to buy into that. Like, how do you not buy into something that's been successful so far and has, again, the less expectations on it? Some people on Twitter are expecting him to go in and score 40 points a game for some reason, but within the organization, I think it's probably a lot more of, all right, let's get him back. Let's get him shooting on the perimeter, give guys like VJ and Tyrese somebody to kick out to on their drives. If he wants to sit outside the perimeter and just take threes, I'm fine with it. That's an addition to this team. There's always room for depth on this team. And that's just on Paul George. I think we've talked about Jared McCain too coming back, and that is going to be huge just for getting our guards a little bit of rest. Because, obviously all overtime games are long, but you could start to see even Maxey, VJ Edgecombe towards the end of that be like, oh my God, I've been out here for 45 minutes and I'm exhausted. So yeah.
And that's on the back end of a back-to-back.
Exactly. And this is the guys, these are guys that you will always find room for: Paul George, Jared McCain, those Dominic Barlow, who was fantastic in his first couple games. Absolute monster on rebounding, especially on the offensive end, which I feel like he probably has more offensive boards than the Sixers had all last season already. Just unbelievable. So, these are players, you're going to find room for them and you'll be fine. This team is 4-0, but again, I just, pump the brakes and we'll take all the help we can get.
Now, I might sound stupid here because bringing up Dominic Barlow and being at the home opener when he was introduced, is he the first overtime elite player to play for the Sixers?
It's a good question.
Because when Matty Cord introduced him and said, "From overtime elite," I was like, whoa, that's something I feel like I haven't heard from
Yeah,
a
he
76ers player
might
before.
be. Because, let's see.
Obviously, the shuffle
Yeah.
of players last year was...
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head, especially with last year again, because there was
Yeah.
just so many Exhibit 10s and things like that. But yeah, obviously had some weird had a weird elbow issue. I watched the playback 18 times and could not find anything, so I'm guessing just like a freak. They keep calling it a laceration. I'm gonna guess he got cut on the elbow somehow. But the way they're talking about it doesn't sound like he should be out for super long. They keep saying the next 2 games or so. So I would expect him back in November, barring any random surprises, but they have been thankfully a little less surprising so far with injury reports and things like that this season than seasons past. But just another guy to add back into the fold that he's going to be less impactful than a Jared McCain or a Paul George, but just again plugging the holes that this team has had for years, and one of which is offensive rebounding and things like that. So I've said it before, just take all the help you can get. We'll always find room for it.
100%. And you bring up Jared McCain. He's obviously on the verge of returning too.
Mm-hmm.
What are the early expectations for Jared McCain? Obviously, you want to ease him in a little bit, especially coming off of an injury that involves your hand. But what are the early expectations for what his role will be, should be, in addition to obviously getting Maxey and VJ a lot more rest? But what should people expect from Jared McCain, and kind of, I think in the early go, temper the expectations and not expect him to be what he was during those first 20 games that he played last year before inevitably getting injured and being out for the rest of the season? I think there's got to be a good balance of that type of elite play and what we'll see in the early go. But what are you expecting from Jared upon his return?
Well, it's funny because I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, he's coming back from this thumb injury, and that is obviously important, his thumb on his shooting hand, but he's also coming back from a major knee injury. I think people need to remember that his re-entry was delayed a couple weeks, but he is ultimately coming back from a thumb injury and a very serious knee injury. So I think you obviously have to temper your expectations. He seems like one of the most mentally sound kids. I have never seen somebody, I feel like, come into the league already more mentally mature than, the guys that have been there for 10 years. But I think we're seeing that shift a lot with guys coming in with sports psychologists already and things like that. I don't expect him to try to push himself so much that it's detrimental, which is good. I think you're in a great spot for a guy like him to come back because you have starting guards. You have starting guards, and you have Quentin Grimes, and you have plenty of depth. So bring him in off the bench, give him a couple minutes, let him get into the groove of things, and you don't have to rush these guys back. I think that's a huge benefit. What I think the ultimate expectation for him should be is to be that 6th man. I really think he can be the 6th man that runs that bench unit, and you could really give your Tyrese and your VJ Edcombe and people like that a break without it being a complete disaster. We've had some disastrous bench units in the past where it was like, okay, just survive. We know you're going to give up about 25. You're going to be about a minus 25 on your bench unit. But, as long as we're leading by 30, it's fine. This should be a little bit smoother of a transition from starters to bench, hopefully. And I also think you'll see Nick Nurse get a little wild with a couple guards in the lineup at once. So we'll see them overlap and things like that and see how they work together. But, give him a little bit at first. Again, it's not only the hand, it's the hand and the knee. He's got to learn to trust his knee again. Just give him a little patience. He's been through a lot in a first year. I think his positivity makes it easy to forget that, but he came in and was having if he played to even slight caliber that he was having the rookie of the year season. gets injured, is ready to come back, gets injured again in what's kind of sounds like a freak thumb injury. But just, give him a chance, give him a couple outings on little minutes to get back into the groove and learn to trust his own body again first. And then I have no doubt he will get back to where he was. He's just an absolutely stellar player.
I'm so excited to see his nail polish lineup for the Iverson era jersey games.
Ooh. Yeah, he's gonna when's our first one? I think it's coming up
November 8th.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm sure he'll be out there with it, but I do love those jerseys. I'm a sucker for it. I know it's all nostalgia bait, but I'm nostalgic, so it works.
But it's also one of those things where I say this all the time. I think Philadelphia, even all bias aside, we have the best assortment of throwback uniforms for all of our teams. I'm one of those people that I love the midnight greens because they won 2 Super Bowls in them, but the Kelly green looks great every once in a while. It's a nice little sprinkle in. The powder blues, they won a World Series wearing those, but it's a nice little sprinkle in, once a week. Except for
we're very fortunate with our throwbacks because I see other teams throwbacks or city editions, and I'm just like, those were design choices for sure.
Yeah.
Who's I can't remember. I think it's the Steelers have the Bumblebee throwbacks.
And the ones they wore this year just look like duct tape or like gaffer tape.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'll turn on a game now and be like, who the hell is that?
The Packers are wearing like fake leather helmets this week with theirs.
Yeah, it's all very, there's not enough jerseys for sale. We got to keep making sure people fill their closets with them.
And I am one of those people, though, that I feel like the Iverson era jerseys are better than their current jerseys.
Oh, I agree.
It's one of those ones from the early 2000s that aged really well, just like the Timberwolves with the trees, the Raptors, Vince Carter era, like those jerseys, even though they were from an earlier time, and it's weird to say like 25 years ago now, they've aged incredibly well that they look like they should still be the current uniform for the team.
Yeah, they don't look if they were revealed today, nobody would be like, oh, this looks like a throwback. No, they're gorgeous jerseys. And yeah, I don't mind the newer ones. Some of the city edition Spectrum stuff has been cool. I'm not big on having Phila instead of Philly or Sixers. I'm sure there's a real reason for it. I just, it never has made much sense to me. But yeah, the Iverson jerseys are real nice. I'm really glad they're coming back. And I like that they're coming back at a time where we have a really exciting rookie, really exciting young players. Because none of them are AI just yet, but it's I think a good timing for it. If they had debuted them last year, it's just
last year
time and a place, and this at least is feeling like a good time and a good place. Again, four games in, but if this team can go 500 with the Iverson jerseys, it'll be better than if they came out last year.
We were mad at the time, but I'm glad they didn't debut them when they actually put out the Boathouse Road jerseys.
Yeah,
because that was the initial plan.
Yeah,
that was the year that they were going to bring out the Iverson jerseys, but then
it feels like a lot better timing right now, like I said, especially with you have an exciting young guard and things like that. So,
but now the guy who didn't like those jerseys and didn't want to greenlight them works for a Premier League soccer team that I absolutely hate, so I love rooting against them as well.
Who does he?
Chris Heck is basically like the team president for Aston Villa.
Aston Villa. Okay. I'm a Liverpool fan, so
Crystal Palace is Josh Harris. So
yes, that's right. I should know that off. That is why my brain went to that. So I was like,
I can't stand them either because I'm a Brighton fan and they're like my Dallas Cowboys.
These guys that own teams own too much. I can't keep it straight at this point. Must be nice to have that much money,
or at least own teams that are in the same city. I just don't understand the diverse portfolio thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the discussion of whether these teams are just investments or not, and we could get into that for a long time. But I'll keep my silence on that one.
As we record this on Friday afternoon, NBA Cup starts tonight for the Sixers.
Yes,
very excited. We talked about last week. Go win the NBA Cup.
Wow.
It's also second time in 11 games, and it will be 3 times in 11 games that they end up playing the Celtics to start the year, which I think is such a
Yeah, the schedule makers had some fun with that one, apparently.
weird way to schedule that. Like, at least split it up 2 and 2, like too late in the season, too early in the season, something like that. But
Yeah,
3 times in 11 games is weird.
3 times in the first 11 games.
Yeah.
You know, it's not in the middle of the season. Definitely a weird scheduling there. But yeah, we got the NBA Cup on deck tonight. It is Halloween, October 31st. So yeah, the second of 3 meetings with the Celtics, and the first one obviously went better than I think anyone was expecting. I will be quite honest, I was not expecting to win the first one. Even with Tatum out, I did not think they were going to steal that one away the way they did, especially before this season got underway. So I think you have to approach it the same way, and hopefully you have Embiid for some more meaningful minutes than he was in the first one. Now that you've kind of figured out how he likes his minutes restriction to be implemented, and you know, if you could do the same thing again with Embiid putting up 20 instead of 4, I think, you know, you're in a good spot. I don't know if VJ Edgecombe's got 43 more points in him, or however 34 more points in him, but if he does, it'd be a good time for it.
How should the Sixers approach this game? Obviously, a lot of people are all in on, you know, the NBA Cup, whether it's a bit or not. I think, you know, like we said on the first episode you were on, like, they should try to commit to winning this thing. This is if there was ever a year, do it this year. How should they approach this, especially knowing you've already played the Celtics? It was a very close game, 1-point win. You still have to play them again in a couple of days. And I know it's different than baseball or football, but, you know, not giving away too much of how you're playing against one team. How do you think they should approach this game in particular, and what are your expectations for group play of the NBA Cup and how the Sixers kind of work their way through that and get through group play?
Yeah, I think as far as this matchup, I think they'll probably have the approach more that it's this Eastern Conference matchup more so, and of course against the Celtics, you know, rivals at this point. Then it being the NBA Cup, only because we're still in the group play. I think once you get past group play of the NBA Cup, then you start thinking, okay, you know, maybe we want to push a little harder in these games to try to, you know, win something. Why not? But, you know, a huge Eastern Conference matchup in the Eastern Conference is going to be God knows what this season. I mean, even in the first week, it's already playing out, I think, a lot differently than people expected. But with the amount of injuries already and the injuries that are undoubtedly to come in a long NBA season, the East is kind of wide open. It's a really weird conference this year. I think the approach has to be the way that they've been playing, which is you play each game for every single game, which can be hard in a normal NBA season where you think, all right, we got to get through 82 of these before we get to the playoffs. I think this year they have their sights set on, you know, making it to the playoffs, but it's more, okay, we have a game on Friday night. Let's win Friday night's game. I think that's just how it's going to have to be with this Sixers team this year. There's really not, I don't think there's enough of a foundation yet. We talk about building sustainable basketball. We need to see more of that before they can really, you know, decide what long-term approaches they want to take to things. But I don't think there's any secrets in how they're operating this year. I don't think there's anything you can hide from the Celtics. Just a big Eastern Conference matchup. Nice Halloween night. It should be nice and packed, hopefully, at the arena. And, you know, at least the court's not red. So I'm happy.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts on the court?
I just so glad it's not fully red. And I looked at the overall layout of all of them, and there's still 4 or 5 that are just red. And yeah. I'm like, okay, well, that's fun as long as you don't have to look at it. No, I'm okay with the blue. I'm not big on full color courts like this. You know, I think it's hysterically funny that, you know, the NBA says we can't have, you know, the trophy or the basketball swooshes on the floor because it's slippery, but apparently making the entire court blue doesn't make it slippery somehow.
Trophy is coming back this year.
The trophy is coming back. I still want the basketball
bullying works.
Back.
Bullying works.
But you know, the good point of, you know, Adam Silver saying before that it's slipping hazard, and I'm like, this court is yellow.
Right.
The Lakers court for the NBA Cup, I am so curious to see it on broadcast, because if you haven't seen it, their NBA Cup court this year is bright yellow, the entire thing. And I'm just like waiting to see the broadcast and have it like reflect back on my face. So I mean, I'm just glad it's not red or yellow. Burn my eyes out doing highlights, but
Yeah, it was literally like the Seinfeld meme. What's going on?
it is what's going on in there. It's the NBA Cup. Just baffling design decisions to try to make things a little interesting, I guess. But I think, could have probably just thrown a fancy logo on there or something. But, I don't make those decisions.
And I think, when you look at group play for the Sixers too, like I think they wound up looking at where they are now and who they'll be playing. It's pretty favorable in terms of just the opponents that are on the schedule for group play. You look at, the Celtics, obviously probably on paper the biggest opponent, but then you have the Magic, a team that the Sixers were able to go out and beat in regular season play. You've got the Pistons, so you'll get the Tobias Harris factor, and then you get the Brooklyn Nets, who are one of, if not going to be the worst team in the NBA this year. One of the worst.
I was gonna say, if you looked at the group that they were in any other season, this lineup would have been a little bit scarier because of the Celtics and the Nets and the Magic. Again, early, they're struggling more than I expected a little bit. I actually thought that was going to be the game the Sixers would drop, just because the Magic had such a size advantage and things like that, and they have such good players. But yeah, the group is pretty favorable right now. I think they have a good shot to. I don't. There's none that I would chalk up as a loss. I think the toughest games that you'll face will be obviously the Celtics. It's so weird with Eastern Conference matchups and rivals like that. It reminds me a little bit of in conference football, where it's just like some of those games are just any given day, any given day. I do think the Magic are going to be tougher as the year goes on, and I don't expect them to be too happy about dropping their first game, dropping that game to us. So, I think expectation wise, I think you want to come in and you definitely want to beat the Nets.
Yes.
You would definitely like to beat the Pistons. It's so hard when you start. It's weird to analyze when you start a season undefeated. Like, I've actually found it harder to analyze than if we had said, if we were 2-2 right now. Because it's just like, there's so much building on that first loss. It's coming. They're not going 82-0. But keep the train going as long as you can. If they win tonight, it's their first 5-0 start since the 2019 to 2020 season, and that was the best start that they had since 2001, where they started 10-0. So it never hurts to get some early wins in the season. So hopefully they can keep it going tonight with the Celtics, and I do think it's absolutely a winnable game, and they're at home too.
Right.
That first win was at TD Garden. And that is a factor. So, hopefully the Philly crowd is as amped up as they have seemed to have been in these recent games, and with good reason. And, just try not to get down 19 points in the third, and things will go a lot easier.
And I think that's the benefit too of their group play schedule. Like, they get the Celtics and Magic at home. Pistons and Nets are on the road. I think you sign up for that any day of the week to have that type of, outcome for scheduling for the NBA Cup, where you get the two, for lack of a better term, more beatable teams on the road. And then you have to play your upper competition when you're at home.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge benefit for group play for the Sixers to get out of group play for what I think would be the first time in the NBA Cup history.
Yeah. I think so too. And for what it's worth, I think it's hard to make predictions about November, because it is just going to be an absolute whirlwind of a month for this team. They play 14 games in the month, and they have 3 back-to-backs. And the 3 back-to-backs are kind of front-ended on the beginning of the month. We have 2 in the next 2 weeks, and then I think 1 will come a little bit later in the month. But it's a packed schedule, and it's really going to start amping up, and where you're going to see fatigue set in with some of these players. You got a lot of guys running on fresh legs to start the season, but also the adrenaline of being 4-0 and having this little taste of winning and success after last year. It has to feel like the greatest high on earth after the past year that they've had. So I think November is going to be a test of that, to see how much in the tank they can keep going. But again, it's a great time to get back players on your depth, and get them some breaks. But it's going to be a long month between the Cup and every other game. It's a stacked month in November.
Yeah, those back-to-backs, it
Brutal.
starts November 4th and 5th. They're at Chicago and then at Cleveland. And then November 8th and 9th, you're home against the Raptors, home against the Pistons. Both of those games are Iverson-era jersey games. And then the other back-to-back is November 19th, you're at home against the
20th,
Raptors.
right?
And then the 20th, you're on the road against the Bucks.
Yeah, it's a busy schedule, and I mean, we kind of knew it was coming to an extent when we found out there was 16 back-to-backs. They got to fit in somewhere, but November is a particularly busy month, and like I said, it's the first month where you're really going to start to see where the fatigue is. Really going to see how people that are recovering from injuries can hold up over time. You're not going to see Joel for any back-to-backs. I think that's just the easiest decision anyone could ever make. The fact that he ever played back-to-backs in the current era of the NBA, whether you like load management or not, is wild to me. But that's where it's going to be. Okay, how sustainable is this? We think we're building something that can work. How sustainable is it? But we talk expectations and things like that, and it sounds like a cop-out, but I really think 500 has to be your goal this year. Like, if you can somehow get more wins than losses this year, it's great. And it's like, well, that sounds like a low expectation. It should be. I mean, we won 24 games last year. That would be a significant improvement. Yeah. So I think people need to not compare so much to past seasons and kind of think of this as a new team, which makes it extremely hard to make predictions for. But yeah, if you can go through a 14 game month with 3 back-to-backs, some on the road, and come out with 7 wins, 7 losses, I think that would be pretty nice for this team.
What's the group play record for you? What do you think their record for group play will be? Both years of the NBA Cup, they've gone 2-2 overall, and they've missed out on advancing.
Just because of the momentum that I think they have on their side right now, I think they can go 3-1. I would not be surprised if they drop either tonight or the Magic game. I think the Nets are already tanking. Just to call it a year. I think they're still are they 0-5, I believe. But yeah, I think they could do 3-1 this year for sure. Now, you got to see who they would play after that to really decide how the rest of the Cup could go. But I think they could get a 3-1 group play. And like we said, if you could win anything this year as a team, and having a rookie like VJ Edgecombe have a taste of a trophy, basically, and have these guys that we talked about them all fulfilling the role. I think it would mean a lot more this year than past years. Not to put all this weight on the NBA Cup, but just the idea of them being able to win with everybody sticking to their own role and not trying to do too much, I think could be just a huge morale booster for this organization.
And, you mentioned the 14 games in November. That includes NBA Cup play. What do you think their record should be when the calendar flips to December, and what will it be when it flips to December?
Well, like we just said, I think 7-7 would be a nice split if you can get it. Again,
I can give you the matchups too of who they play in November if you want.
We've been getting put, like I said, it's tough when you start out so well, because I think even the more pessimistic fans and people covering it, it's hard not to kind of enjoy what we've been able to see so far and hope that it continues. But now I'm thinking about it though, because tonight's game would be October.
Technically October. So
yeah,
November starts.
Go ahead, give me the matchups.
So November starts with a 3-game road trip. You're at Brooklyn, at Chicago, at Cleveland, and that Chicago-Cleveland is back-to-back. So that's the first.
The Bulls are 4-0, I believe. Also,
they are.
All right. I would like for you to win at the Nets. You lose at the. We'll see that. Man, I would see out of that if you could get 2 wins out of those 3 games. That would be nice. I don't. Chicago is going to be tough. They're another team that I think is 4-0 and is not going to go 82-0. But
yeah,
it's momentum in a season as long as the NBA is, I think, does matter. I would imagine you'd see Joel for the front end of that. Then you would see him for Chicago, Cleveland. I'll be conservative and say out of the 14 games, we'll say 5 or 6 wins. I would love to see them get 7 or 8, but if you can get 5 or 6 out of that, I think, again, you really have to compare to last year. It's hard to compare to 4-0, but you got to compare to last year. And if you could stay a 500 team or hover around there, you have a good shot to make the playoffs. You definitely were going to make the play in, I would think at that. But yeah, it's hard right now because I think they're subverting expectations in a lot of ways that it's just unexpected. So let's see a 7-7 November. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, because November they're at the Nets, at the Bulls, at the Cavs, and you're home against the Raptors, Pistons, Celtics. Then you're at the Pistons for NBA Cup group stage. Then you come back home, Clippers, Raptors, go to Milwaukee, home against Miami, home against the Magic for NBA Cup group stage, home against the at the Nets, for NBA Cup group stage, and then the last game of November is home against the Hawks.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a split schedule as well.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think the Magic are better than they have played to start the season. You have Milwaukee in there with, assuming Giannis plays, things like that, because he was out last night with a knee issue. You have the Clippers. I would like to see if you could get 5 or 6 wins. That's probably a good thing, and they'll make me sound like an idiot if they win all of them somehow. But my realistic expectation is if you can get 5 or 6 wins out of the 14, then that's not a bad showing.
Yeah, we'll be sitting here in December, and it's like the Sixers are 18-0.
The Sixers are 18-0, and I'm never making another prediction for the rest of my life.
Before we started recording this, the Sixers Halloween party video came out. Some fantastic costumes in there. Tyrese Maxey is Allen Iverson. Kyle Lowry is Skeeter from Doug. Some really good costumes in there. The Oubre family going as, the Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. gang. Who from this Sixers roster would you want to go trick-or-treating with, and why?
Ooh. So it's funny because I feel like my initial reaction on personality-wise is to go with like a Tyrese Maxey or a VJ Edgecombe, but I also think there would be something just incredibly fun about going trick-or-treating and knocking on people's doors with like, Andre Drummond or a Dembona and have this like giant kids with a Dembona for a giant kid asking for and just his personality recently has been showing through a lot more. He's not much of a public speaker. I actually think they made him do the welcome at the home opener as a continued hazing because he keeps getting the rookie hazing for some reason. But oh man, that's trying to think who else would be. Just the idea of knocking on somebody's door and like me being 5 foot and looking like a child still somehow, and then having Andre Drummond, who is just massive, or a Dembona or Joel Embiid standing there just like trick or treat. That would be great.
You and Arthur going and ringing somebody's doorbell, and Joel just like LeBron
literally
James
exactly
phone, just like recording everything.
Exactly. But no, I saw the Halloween stuff. I will say, like, again, pictures and videos like that can be deceiving on what's happening behind the scenes, but everything we've seen behind the scenes from this team, we have been talking about it at Liberty Baller Slack, where we're just like, are the vibes good? Are the vibes good this year? And this was like before we won the first 4 games. It just seems like, again, I think taking off the unrealistic expectations that this franchise has had, it's just allowing them to mesh a lot better and to enjoy playing basketball and enjoy playing basketball with each other. I loved the hazing video. I loved the video of them taking a Dembonis car wheel and filling his car with popcorn because he was still a rookie until they played the first game. And it's just, it seems like these guys are really playing for each other. And it's a huge difference this year. But yeah, if I'm going trick-or-treating, I want like the big guys with me. I think that would be funny.
I think I'm just tagging along with the Oubre family.
I do love the group costume. The Scooby-Doo clan is so cute. They looked great.
The fact that they all committed to the bit and just like went all in, like
that. And Kyle Lowry committing to the bit of actually painting himself blue is insane to me. When you said I was expecting the costume, and then I saw the face paint. But no, they seem like they're having fun, and I'm happy for them.
This team's got me feeling vibey, Erin.
I have had more than one friend text me and be like, I think they were pulling me back in. And I'm like, look, I don't mean to be the Debbie Downer,
right?
But trust me, as somebody that had to watch every game last season, just temper your expectations a little bit. They're going to fight. I think they're going to play with this level of fight as much as they can, which is going to make it more tolerable just to start. But, I keep trying to say eventually they may lose a game. But then again, I said that the other night and had to be like, never mind. They erased a 20-point deficit. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, they're going to win forever, apparently. So,
forever.
Hey, keep it going while you can. It's never a bad idea to front end that season with some wins for, when the inevitable slump comes, because it always hits at some point.
And then in January, we just hit that surge that we always hit, and we go like 10-1 in the month of January. And
yeah, they have the times of pulling us back in. They know they play their cards right and wait, and they're like, all right, I think they're completely out on us, so let's win a few games and pull them all back in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it has been nice to see people engaging in the Sixers at all, because I mean, there was a point last year where it's like, I have to tweet about every game, I have to report on every game, we have to write about every game. And it was just at the point where you would tweet like, the Sixers play tonight, or the Sixers won tonight, or they lost tonight. And every reply is just like, who cares? And I'm like, they tell me I have to. You think I would be here if I didn't have to?
You know how I got these scars?
Literally. You think I'm watching the 22-win team in April for no reason? But no, it's been fun to see the city somewhat engaged again. I've seen more than a few people walking outside with Sixer stuff on, and I'm like, oh, they're not even hiding it now. They're back out in public with it. So let's hope it keeps it going.
Coupling that with like the Flyers' success to start the season, like the entire arena is just buzzing right now.
Yeah, all it took was we had to sacrifice the Phillies, apparently.
Unfortunately.
Too soon? Too soon? Maybe.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Like Harper, maybe.
Yeah. But we'll keep it going. And I do at least think that, like I said, they're not going to win every game, but it certainly seems like they're going to play with a little bit more fight and play for each other, and not just so much trying to prove something to themselves or trying to live up to some sort of expectation. And it should make for a lot better of a season, tolerably, as a fan.
And I just think they're likable.
For sure.
The past couple of years, it was tough to
I think
wrap your arms around that team.
Yeah, and we talked about it. It's the mentality thing. Like, we in Philly don't like to watch players mope around, even if they have very legitimate reasons to be kind of mopey. Mm-hmm. But when you're a public athlete in this city, it's not taken too kindly to. And I think they had all the reason in the world to not be super happy last year, but it wears on you to watch guys mope around for a while, I think. So obviously winning helps that. We'll see how they handle loss, and that'll be the real testament to this team. But it seems like they've got a good thing going behind the scenes. So hopefully that can continue.
100%. Hopefully we're sitting here next week and they're still undefeated.
Yeah.
The Erin Grugan run continues.
Yeah. I'll be on
yeah.
a parade float if we go 82-0. I'll tell you that much.
Let everybody know again where to follow you. Check out all your stuff with Liberty Ballers and keep the undefeated streak going.
Yeah, absolutely. For all your Sixers coverage, we cover every single game, whether you want to watch it or not. We will be there at libertyballers.com and on Twitter at Liberty Ballers. And I am Erin Grugan, ErinGrugan. I post a lot of highlights and stats throughout the games and mostly just yap about sports otherwise. So follow me on there.
Absolutely. Erin Grugan, you are the best. And hopefully when we're sitting here again next week, we're still undefeated, talking about moving on in the NBA Cup and just the vibes continuing to roll.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'm happy to be here.
Shout out to Erin for hopping on the show once again. She's truly the best. If you guys aren't following her, you should be. She is truly one of one in the Sixers community, does a lot of great stuff with Liberty Ballers. So definitely check out Erin and Liberty Ballers on the socials. And Erin's breakdown and conversation there brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Maryland, Delaware areas. You can also find Kenwood Beer at your local liquor stores in those markets. Again, that's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And as always, guys, please drink responsibly. The Flyers, the other tenant of Xfinity Mobile Arena, are off to quite the start. Optimistic October comes to a close, and the Flyers are en fuego. They take down Nashville 4-1, after defeating the Penguins in a shootout on Tuesday, 3-2, after taking down the Islanders 4-3 in a shootout on Saturday. This all off of a very bad 2-1 loss to the Senators up in Ottawa on Thursday. They have won 4 out of their last 5 because prior to that they beat Seattle 5-2. And they've just been on a hot streak right now that has them sitting through 10 games at 6-3-1, a +6 goal differential. They've won 3 in a row, and they're right in the mix in the Metropolitan Division. They're right in the mix in the Eastern Conference through 10 games with 13 points. The only teams ahead of them, the Hurricanes, the Devils, and the Penguins. The Senators are even with them in points, the Canadiens, and the Red Wings. Only teams in the East with more points than the Flyers. So there's 5 total with more, which means right now the Flyers would be a playoff team. That's exciting. And, you look back at the games, and Harrison had mentioned optimistic October. What do we want to see the rest of the way? And that was prior to the Jets game. So they ended up with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 points of the 11 that Harrison wanted to see. That's pretty fucking good. 10 points in a month, from that point. And obviously you got more because you got the 1 point in the Hurricanes game. You got the 2 points in the game against the Panthers in the home opener. 13 points in the month of October is pretty damn good. This team's awesome. Trevor Zegras is on fire. And I tried to tell people when that trade happened that Trevor Zegras was going to be beloved in Philadelphia. He is the type of player that we get behind. He is the type of player that you want to root for. You want to love. You want to embrace. And I tried to tell people that. Trevor Zegras, before coming to Philadelphia, my favorite non-Flyer. My only player in the NHL that I love more than him currently is Travis Konechny. And obviously Claude Giroux, but that's a different story. Claude is always a Flyer in my brain. But top three, it's Claude, TK, and Trevor Zegras. I loved his game. I loved his style of play. I loved his swagger, his confidence. He didn't give a shit about how people thought about his play style. Trevor Zegras is the man. I tried to tell people, and I saw our good friends at PHLY tweet that Danny Briere cook with Trevor Zegras. I told people he was going to be the guy. He was going to be the guy that really jettisons this rebuild into this team being very competitive. Zegras has 12 points in his first 10 games as a Flyer. And he had a quote on getting traded to the Flyers and said, when you come to a sports town like Philadelphia, you don't want to embarrass yourself. Trevor, sweetie, you would never embarrass yourself here because you are that guy. Michkov hasn't even gotten going yet. And we got Trevor Zegras over here balling. Coots before his injury was balling. TK has been great. Tyson Forster, Bobby Brink. This team has dudes. And I just feel very, very optimistic about what's to come for this team. Again, I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team. I'm not saying they're going to be, a Stanley Cup contender. But they are going to give you a product to watch night in and night out, whether you're at the arena or watching at home, that you are going to enjoy watching more often than not. Not every game is going to be like that Senators stinker. And not every game is going to be, a 5-2 shellacking like they've had a multitude of times. But every time out, you're going to feel like this team can go out and win a hockey game. And we haven't felt that way in a long time, in my opinion, about the Flyers. And the fact that we do feel that way, or at least I feel that way, is pretty remarkable. I love the way that this team is playing under Rick Tocchet. I think he has them in a groove. He's got them playing at a play style that not many people would be able to tap into. And there's a lot of guys that are still in this roster from last year that were playing under Tortorella. Let's not forget that. So, great job by Rick Tocchet so far. Great job by this offense. Great job by the goaltending, by the defense. This team is playing fun hockey. They are a ton of just lovable dudes. And I hope you all took in October like we all did here. And you're going to go into November saying, hey, I'm going to watch the Flyers more. I'm going to watch the Flyers this season. Maybe you didn't watch at all. And you took October to kind of just see how things went. But now you're like, hey, I'm going to give this team a chance. They're going to be a lot of fun this year, and you look at their upcoming schedule in the month of November. You look at their November schedule, and it kickstarts on Saturday against the Maple Leafs at home, Calgary at home on Sunday, then you go to Montreal on Tuesday, then you go to Nashville on Thursday, then you come home to play Ottawa on Saturday, November 8th. Wednesday, you're at home to play the Oilers. Then you go to St. Louis on Friday, November 14th. You go to Dallas on the 15th. You come home to play the Blues at Xfinity Mobile Arena on the 20th. The 22nd, you're home against the Devils. Then you're at Tampa Bay, at Florida, at the Islanders, at the Devils, and that is the month of November. The big thing about this month that is going to be put on display here for the month of November is going to be seeing how this team is going to find ways to win on the road. They have been exceptional at home. I believe they're 6-0-1 at home. Something like that. What is their overall record again? 6-3-1. Maybe they're 6-1-0 at home. Let me look at their games here. Yeah, they lost the game to the Jets at home. That's their one home loss. They beat the Panthers at home. They beat the Wild at home. They beat the Kraken at home. They beat the Islanders, the Penguins, and the Predators all at home. They're 6-1-0 at home. On the road, on the other hand, they lost in Florida. They went to overtime and lost to the Hurricanes. So you're 0-1 there. And that's it. 3 losses. Who's the other loss? Oh, Panthers lost in overtime and then lost to the Jets. So you're 0-2-0 or 0-1-1 on the road. So you definitely got to learn how to win as a team on the road and figure out a lot of that. But you're going to get a lot of opportunities in November to do that. Because when you look at their schedule, like I just said, road-wise, in November, You're at Montreal, at Nashville, at St. Louis, at Dallas, at Tampa Bay, at Florida, at the Islanders, at the Devils. That's 8 road games. I would love to see this team potentially go 4-4 on the road. That would be awesome to kind of just give you an idea of, and that's what you always want to be on the road. You want to be somewhere hovering around 500. There's so much that goes into playing on the road and stuff like that, no matter what sport. So if you can go 4-4 in those November road games, I'll feel really good about that. At least try to get a point. Even if you lose in overtime, lose in a shootout, get a point. Rack up points. You know what I'm saying? But I feel good about the Flyers. Optimistic October was a wild success, everyone. And we're on to November. And we see how things shake out now. The bubble wrap gets peeled off, and it's time to rock and roll with the big boys in November. So we'll see what the Flyers are able to accomplish in the month of November. But one hell of an October for our Philadelphia Flyers. As we move to the final segment here to talk about the Philadelphia Union, it's brought to you by our friends over at Biñho. Guys, we love Biñho here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's the next big tabletop game for your tailgates, your man caves, your she sheds, parties, whatever it may be. You break out a Biñho board, you're going to be the talk of your event. It's paper football meets foosball for the next big tabletop flicking experience. You guys can use our link in the description to shop with Biñho, and when you go to checkout, make sure you use code BiñhoBennett62. Biñho Bennett 62 at checkout to get 10% off your next order from our friends at Biñho. You can get officially licensed Philadelphia Union boards. They have an entire MLS collection. They've got officially licensed boards for a ton of Premier League teams, PSG, Juventus, and more. You can customize your own board as well. Again, use our link in the description. Shop with Biñho, and when you go to checkout, use code BiñhoBennett62 in the little promo code checkout spot to get 10% off your next order from our friends at Biñho. And we thank Biñho for being a proud partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Union head to Chicago on Saturday to take on the Chicago Fire in Game 2 of the opening round of the MLS Cup playoffs, where they survived in PKs in Game 1. Put this game away. Put it in the bag. Put the fries in the bag, okay? Go out to Chicago, put on a show, end the Chicago Fire season, and gear up for your next round matchup. Get that additional break time and go out with a bang and get ready for the second round of the postseason. Because you look at the MLS Cup bracket and what's to come for this team, it's not easy. Okay, it's not going to be easy when you look at, everything upcoming for the Philadelphia Union. You look at the matchups. Let me pull up the bracket properly here. So the winner of this Chicago and Philadelphia series will end up playing the winner of New York City FC and Charlotte in the conference semifinals, November 22nd and 23rd. Let's take a look at the MLS standings here and take a look at the matchups. So New York City won the opening game 1-0 against Charlotte, and that was in Charlotte. So the away team gets the dub there, and now they go to New York on Saturday at 3:30. It could be New York that Philadelphia ends up playing. It could be Charlotte. Both teams are going to be tough matchups. It's not going to be easy for the Philadelphia Union here in the conference semifinals. But nonetheless, it's winnable. And then you go to the conference finals. You play whoever you play. MLS Cup final on December 6th. Could be at Subaru Park. If the Union do their job, like we all think they can because they're fully capable of it, the Philadelphia Union could be hosting the MLS Cup in about a month's time. But you got to take care of business against Chicago on Saturday in Chicago. Get the job done, come back home, get some additional rest, and gear up for the semifinals either against Charlotte or New York City. That game kicks off before the Union and Chicago do. The Union game is at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Charlotte, New York City's at 3:30 Eastern, so we can kind of scoreboard watch a little bit there to see what that matchup's going to look like. Hopefully it goes 3. Would love for that team to be a little more less rested than the Philadelphia Union, obviously. But I feel good about this Union team. They're resilient. They fight. They never quit. And I think it's going to be an exceptional performance from them in Chicago. Rest up and then gear up for what will be a gauntlet, because after this it's just best of ones. It's one-off games the rest of the way, so there's no room for error. You got to treat this game against Chicago just like that, and we'll see what happens. But I'm excited about what is on the horizon for the Philadelphia Union as they gear up for the second game in the best of 3 here against the Chicago Fire in the MLS Cup playoffs. Let's go Union. Let's go Union. Doop, baby. I got the scarf right here. Philadelphia. Let's go. Let's bring it home. Cheesesteaks for the boys. Let's go. Bring it home. That is all I've got for you guys on this one. Make sure you're following us on the socials at Underground PHI across the board. We're on every social platform. Be sure to subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. Leave a like on the video. Drop a comment in the comment section. Click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. Subscribe. Please, I'm begging you. This year 32, I want all of you to subscribe, okay? Keep subscribing. And this show, guys, as you all know, is proudly presented by the city of Vineland. And like I've been mentioning, the Garden State Comic Fest is coming to the all-new Vineland Convention Center Saturday, November 15th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Meet Melissa Joan Hart plus fan favorite stars like Dan Parent, the legendary Archie's comic artist and writer, Kevin Clash, the voice of Elmo, Splinter, and Baby Sinclair, and Keith Williams, the iconic comic book inker from Marvel and more. Comics, cosplay, collectibles, and over 6,000 fans. Visit gscfvineland.com for all the details. Again, the Garden State Comic Fest is coming to the new Vineland Convention Center Saturday, November 15th and Sunday, November 16th. For all the details, visit gscfvineland.com, Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. This has been episode number 790 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Let's go win the NBA Cup. Let's go keep winning, Flyers. Let's keep winning, Sixers. Let's go bring home an opening round postseason series dub, Philadelphia Union. Let's keep the good times going, okay? That's how I'm feeling right now. Big shout out to everybody for the birthday wishes. I fucking love you all. You're the best. Shout out to Erin Grugan for hopping on the show once again this week. I will talk to you all on Monday as we break down a week in the NFL. Hopefully talk about a Union postseason series victory, more Sixers and Flyers talk, and a whole lot more. But until then, I am getting the heck up out of here, and I'm signing off. Happy Halloween, everybody. Peace.